Hi there, welcome to this course on vintage photo restoration with Photoshop. My name is Harshit and I'm instructor for this class. In this class, you'll be learning various concepts, tools and techniques used in restoring old photos and adding colors. Here you will be learning various methods such as cleaning decayed photos with spot healing brush, noise reduction using camera raw filter, and changing the value of luminance. You will be also learning converting photo to clean black and white or the grayscale adjustment layer, then tone correction for highlights, shadows, darkness, and the bright sections of the photo. You will also learn to add various adjustment layers such as hue and saturation to create masks, and you will also learning recoloring certain sections of the photos using adjustment layers and a paintbrush. You will also learn to reduce the haze, or you will also learn to correct the faintness of the photo using luminosity and a histogram. Moreover, we will be using tone curves with RGB channels. You will also learn to use crop, rotate, selection and other concepts in Photoshop. So if you are curious to learn these photo restoration skills in Photoshop, start learning right now. See you in the class. Hi friend, you are learning vintage photo restoration, and here in this lesson you are going to learn about cleaning and noise reduction. So when we have a vintage photo that's generally old enough, we need to first clean some things here. Okay, we may have some textures, a folded, change in light, and a lot of noise. So first let's do the crop. Make a selection and go to image and crop. So this way we have removed few outline area and adjusted it to fit in the size. So this looks like a portrait photo, and here we will be using the spot healing brush because there are some lights that we don't want and some spots in the photo. Some old images could have decayed. However, you may use a scanner or advanced techniques like for scanning, but then also you may get the spot. So a spot healing brush will remove the spots. You have to just select the spot and just apply this brush. You can change the size of a spot healing, you can zoom into the photo if you want, and so on. Once you are done with removing clearing a few spots, then you can move further. So here in the neck we also have some spots, maybe due to lightning or decay in the photo. So there could be a variety of vintage photos, but all are generally in the black and white if you don't consider the colored photos. And with black and white photos, we have to reduce the noise and cover the things. So if your photo is quite old, say early 1920s or 1800s, it may have decayed over time. And then you can use the spot healing, or you can also use other selection tool like magnetic lasso, magic wand to remove some selected areas if they are very clear. Okay, you can remove, but be careful, don't remove some useful information from the photo. Keep it intact, like collar outlines are there clearly visible, and the buttons, shirt buttons and everything else. So just don't remove the texture, be focused here. Then once we are done, we can uh, reduce the noise by going to the filter, camera raw filter. So just go to filter, camera raw filter, and here we need to go to the third icon on the top that looks like a mountain. It's called detail, and when you go to detail options, you got various properties to control, but right now we are just focused on the luminance, because when we increase the value of luminance, it will try to reduce the noise. So the haziness and the noise, the individual pixels that appear will be clarified, it will be removed. So keep the value higher enough, just a above 80%. If you have a lot of noise, if you have minimal noise, you can keep it with 16 60 or 70%, or I will prefer 90% here. So once you are done with luminance, next step is to convert this photo into the clear black and white. So there could be various ways. First, duplicate this layer to keep the original image intact, and then just go to adjustment layer and select the black and white adjustment layer. So once you applied black and white adjustment layer, it will convert the photo to black and white. You can alternatively use the hue saturation adjustment layer and decrease the value of saturation. You can also convert the image to black and white, but if you convert the image to black and white, it will convert everything to black and white components, and here RGB data would be lost. We don't want to lose RGB data because we can recolor this photo later on. So okay, you can use the adjustment layer here. Try applying this thing in your photos. Keep learning, keep moving ahead. Hi, welcome back friend. Here in this lesson you're going to learn about bringing back the colors to our vintage photo. So we have this black and white vintage photo, and now we can bring back the colors by painting over this photo. Okay, so first we need to convert it to the black and white. There are different ways. One way is to just create an hue and saturation layer, and you can drop the saturation value to 0 to just left hand side using the slider. And next we need one more hue saturation layer, and this time we will create paint. Okay, just keep the saturation value in the mid range, and next you can choose the color that you want to paint. So first we will be painting the skin color, then we can paint the color for lips, the pink color, then we can paint the color to t-shirt or the background or the eyes. So here it is. First paint this using skin color. Next you need to just select this mask, change the color to black, and just hold the Alt key and press backspace. This way we have disabled this color, and when we paint using this brush tool, it will start appearing. When we converted this to the black color, it created a mask, and when we painted using the black color, this top layer is revealed. Okay, so just paint over the face of this person, and here the skin color is just appearing. We are painting this skin color technically over the skin. And just you can zoom into the photo to make a fine selection. You can always change the size of the brush, and there are two ways. First, you can paint directly using the mouse or the drawing pen, and if you have painted to an area that you don't want to paint, you can just simply hold the Alt key and just repaint over that. So it will work as an eraser. Okay, so first try to paint over the skin. You can choose a different color. You can also use the color code, hex code, for applying color if you are not comfortable in selecting this skin color properly. You can easily get it on internet. Just search for skin color and you will get the hex code, or you can just use any color. So your photos may have a different color combination, and if you have a variety of subjects in the photo that you want to restore, you have to create multiple adjustment layers. So here this is just a portrait photo of a person. So here we just require a skin color, pink color for lips, t-shirt has a different color, and the background 4 or 5 color will be more than sufficient. Sometimes you may have complex object like a street photography of early 1920s, then you can require more colors. Okay, it's completely on your choice the color you want to do. We are not actually restoring the colors. It is generally impossible because the camera, this image doesn't have the information for RGB or CMYK color tone, and it just only contains the information for black and white components in the grayscale mode. Because the cameras in the earlier days, early 1920s and 1950s, we used to have just black and white cameras, and these days we have all the mobile phones, the cameras, and digital camera, DSLRs, and everything mirrorless. Store information as a raw file, and each raw consists of a different pixels, and each pixel have the information for red, green, and blue components that just define this photo, any photo. So in the earlier days, this was almost absent. That's why we cannot find the colors back, we have to repaint. And you can imagine it would be easy to do. Say like this t-shirt is in the light colors, so we can simply predict it is generally lighter tone of blue or red, anything. Okay, so next we can create a new adjustment layer for hue, and we have done with painting the skin color. And now just click the adjustment layer. You can duplicate the adjustment layer, or it's better to just create a new adjustment layer right from scratch. Okay, so you can right click to create a new adjustment layer, or you can go below to this icon and hue saturation adjustment layer. So here this time we need color for the lips, so make it little bit pink in color. You can also turn the opacity to higher value or lower value. You can also increase or decrease the value of saturation. Let's keep the saturation value little bit lower, and here we got a soft pink color. If there is a portrait of a lady, you can paint it using a different vibrant colors for a lipstick, anything like that. But if it is a person, um, a man, it's better to keep it soft. Okay, so we can paint it again, and we'll create a mask here. Just repeat the same steps. You have to select the mask, hold alt and left click to make it black, and then paint over this mask. Okay, so just select this top layer, and we just want this layer to appear. Just go to the paintbrush, readjust the size of this brush if you want. If something is important, you can zoom in. If your selection or the component is small enough, it's better to zoom for fine selection. You can note here where, because we have increased the vibrance of this photo to reduce the noise, so that's why we can easily paint. So noise reduction was an important step for restoring a photo, because it will allow us to paint again. Okay, so here it is. And next we can create a mask, one more adjustment layer for the eyes, because we have painted the skin color, and the eyes are generally not in the skin color. It has to be in the white color, so it's better to keep it either in the gray scale or the white. So if you want to keep it in the gray scale, just reduce the saturation to minimal value, and here you can just paint over the mouse with the same steps followed. Just go to the selection, alt, left click with the black color, and here you can just toggle and paint over the eyes. If you're not satisfied, you can just turn the adjustment layers one by one off and on, and recheck if it is working fine or not. So here we have tried to restore the photo, the color, and this is how we can do this. So in the next lesson we will be adding more colors to the background and the shirts. Till then, keep learning and keep moving ahead. Hi, welcome back friend. In the previous lesson we have added some colors to this vintage photo, and this time we'll be adding some more colors. So you already know how to create adjustment layer for hue and saturation and black and white. So here we can create more such layers for painting other substances. So we have already painted this lips, face and the eyes. Now we want to paint this t-shirt and the background. So just make it any shade. Here we use the blue color and apply the same step. Make the color selection black. You need to hold alt and press backspace. So once we created this mask, we have to move to the paintbrush, increase the size of the brush because the selected area is quite large, and we have to paint over the photo. So remember to paint with the white color, because when you paint with the white color, the adjustment layer starts appearing. Okay, here we have this blue color, it appears, but when we paint with the black color, it will disappear. It will work like an eraser. Okay, so this was a simple plain t-shirt. So here we can paint everything with the same color. Sometimes you may have photos of a person that have a combination of colors, the attire, the traditional attire, or generally for the woman's clothes, you need to be more careful because it requires patience to paint with different colors. Sometimes if you have some more details to cover, you can just simply zoom into the photo and paint with soft brush. You can also change the flow, but I would prefer to make it uniform. Don't change the flow. Keep it 100% opacity and everything. And if you want to apply some opacity, just go to individual layers, change the value of saturation first. If you are not satisfied with the value of saturation, then you can use the opacity. Don't use any blending mode here because we want every color to be clearly visible. We don't want to have a mixture of colors, okay, because it would create difficulty in the borders. Okay, when we have borders of two different masks, it would be difficult. So here we got this blue shirt, and let's reduce the value of saturation to make it little soft in the lighter tone, because this t-shirt was ideally in the white color, white or blue color. So here we have painted this thing. So here we have this photo is just starting to appear as it was shot in the real time. So we are bringing back the colors. So now next time we need to just add this color to the background. You can add any color. Here I am using this green color. So just make a proper selection for the hue and then select the black color, and again alt left click this mask so we can start painting. What happens when we alt left click? This layer disappears, and when we paint with the white color, only the particular section that we painted will have the color. So here we can paint over the background. Choose the proper size of the brush. You can take a larger size or the smaller size, and you can change the value of the brush. Just start painting. Here you can note that we have some darker sections of the photo, some vibrant sections, brighter sections. So we can also correct this using tone correction, or otherwise if you want to keep it natural, just keep it in the way. Don't do any tone correction. So here just paint over the surface. Be careful in the border areas because the mixture could be a different color, a weird color could appear. So just paint over this thing. The remaining areas, be careful. Just be careful about painting with the white color. Don't paint with the black. If you paint with the black color, it will work as an eraser. And don't use any color in between. Say instead of white, don't take pink, yellow, anything, because you will have a weird color. Okay, white is the brightest color and the black is the darkest, so that's why we use this thing. It's somewhat similar to the alpha channel, and it's only recognize the black and white. Yes, that's it. So here we have painted over this thing in the background, and we can change the color anytime, but first we focus on painting the surface. So this is how you can bring back the colors back to the vintage photos. First convert it to black and white, apply some tone correction, apply some noise reduction, use the spot healing brush, the crop, anything, any selection and removal that you require, and then just start painting using this hue, saturation, adjustment layer. So here this is how we can bring back the color. Isn't it magical? Because the old photos have lost the photo. If you have a grandparents, just take their photos and take their old photos, the childhood photos, and just bring back the colors. They would be very happy to see what you have just done. So here we can just experiment with any color. It's advisable to save multiple versions. So here we can have a background with a pink color, the red color, the green and the blue. Just save individual versions, and you can discuss with your friends and the family, or your collaborators, your colleagues, to discuss which photo appears good. So okay, so here we have just changed it to the quite red. It looks like it is a portrait photo that has been shot in the recent time, so it doesn't look like a black and white. So this was the photo that we used, and this is how we have edited and brought back the colors, everything. Just go to window, arrange, and to view vertical. So this is how you can just look at these photos and compare side by side what we have done. So the earlier version of the photo was decayed in some areas that we removed with the spot healing brush. Then we cropped the photo, then we changed it to the black and white, used noise reduction technique, and then we painted over individual colors by creating masks. So on the left hand side, the photo that we painted looks amazing. Then the previous one, we have enhanced this photo. Try creating your own vintage photo restoration and restore the photos and share with your grandparents. So stay creative, keep learning, and keep moving ahead. Hi, welcome back, friend. Here in this lesson, you are going to learn about restoring faded photos using histogram in Photoshop. So let's start. So some of the old photos from the early 20th centuries may consist of a haze, and we can reduce it in Photoshop very smartly. Okay, so first we need to open the histogram panel, and we can find this histogram panel from the windows and just go to histogram. So here we can see the RGB channel, red, green, and blue channel, and we can select individual colors and change the value of luminosity. Sometimes editing a photo just using a histogram could be a little bit tricky. So here we will be learning about this. We'll be using our tone curves. So just go to this option and create a new adjustment layer for the curves. So here this is the tone curve, and anything we modify here would be reflected both in the histogram and the photo as well. So just keep it a trial version. Here we got the values of the dark on the lower end. On the top end we got the brightness, the white sections of the photo. So if we drag this thing, if we drag at any point of this curve, uh, either towards the inside or the outside, it will affect the photo. Okay, so the top second point is just for the highlights, and the lower second point is for shadows, and anything in between will be covered as a shadow or the highlights. So it's better to increase the highlights and reduce the shadows, so that shadow may become more dark and highlights may appear more bright. So in that case we can reduce the haze. So this is how we have removed the haze from the photo. So you can turn the visibility mode on and off to get a better view over what changes we have applied. So this is how we can do this. You can go to the individual channels and apply changes to the red, green, and blue channels as well. Okay, so that was the earlier histogram, and now it has more spread. So the first photo consists of all the color values right towards the center. Okay, there was fewer information for the extreme dark and extreme bright colors. So here let us try creating the tone curve using this hand or the sample tool. We have created a new adjustment layer, and you can select the blending mode here for the luminosity. So here just sample any color and just drag up or down using the left mouse click. This way we can find this part of the color in the tone curve. Okay, so sometimes you may be confused which color to apply changes for. Just use this hand picker tool and this tone curve option, and here just drag it. So here just select some sections of the photo. We'll first select the brighter, the darker, the shadows, and then highlight to be exact, and you can drag this tone towards any direction. So earlier we have manipulated this tone curve by just clicking on certain points on the tone curve. We have just created a S curve, increase the highlights and reduce the values of shadow. Uh, but here we can apply changes to individual colors. So you can create as much point as you want. There's no restriction here. Um, but try to make the curve little bit in a certain format. Don't just create a zigzag kind of curve. Okay, in that case it will be confused. It will be illogical, completely illogical to increase the value of shadows, because shadows are shadows tend to be dark in nature. Okay, so if you increase the value of shadow, it means you are increasing the brightness of the shadow. It makes no sense here. Thus we are focused on decreasing the value of shadows and increasing the value of highlights. We want highlights to be more bright and shadows to be more dark. So you can turn the visibility mode on and off to have a preview of each adjustment layer and how it affects the photo. We have converted this photo to the smart object, so that way we are doing non-destructive edits. Destructive edits actually destroys the photo if you perform any changes. Alternatively, you can keep a copy of the photo, and here we want to create one more adjustment layer for this curves, and we will be manipulating this using individual channels. So this is the red channel. You can find individual channel, and we are just dragging the dark values towards the center because it doesn't have too much dark color, and we can perform change the value of any midtones. When we decrease the value of the midtones, it converts the photo to the green. Because reducing red means we are increasing the green color. The same way, when we decrease the value of green, it will increase the value of red color in the photograph. Okay, so here on the right hand side, green color has less highlights, so we can reduce that thing. And you can go to the blue channel, and here it is all generally covered in the darker section of the photos. So it is less visible in the brighter section of the photo, so you can change the value. As you can see, when we manipulated this RGB channel, it improves the quality of the photo as well as it changed photo to black and white. So there could be various techniques of changing a photo to the black and white grayscale, but this was almost unintentional, and it actually got to controls over individual RGB channels. So we have reduced the haze, and we have brought back some colors and changed the color from sepia to grayscale. Okay, so this was how we can restore a faded photo by reducing the haze in the photo. We have created an adjustment layer for the curves, and we have referred the histogram to change the values. Try creating this thing and restoring your own photos. Till then, keep learning and keep moving ahead. Hi, welcome back friend. Here in this lesson you're going to learn about spot healing for fixing decayed segments of a photo in Photoshop. So let's start with this. So here we got another photo from early 20th century, and this has decayed over time. So this was shot using a DSLR camera. This photo was not scanned, but we can still fix it and perform certain operations. So first step is to make a selection and crop your photo. So here we have just cropped this photo, and we can identify that the edges are not aligned, and then we can rotate it slightly. There could be different options. You could either make a selection using polygonal lasso and then crop, or you can use the square selection and then crop. So here I will be just rotating it slightly and then making a selection once more, and after rotation it should be aligned, and then we can crop it. So here just align it properly. This is a portrait photo, so we should just crop it because we don't want some unwanted components other than photo itself to appear in our edit. Just make a selection. You can keep a copy of the same photo in case if you don't want to perform destructive edit, or you can convert this photo to smart object. So once you are done, just make a selection and go to image and crop, and here we can remove some more segments of the photo, and after we are done we can rotate it back to the default orientation, like image crop. Here we have just cropped this photo. Now using the same rotate tool just below the selection tool, and here you can fix it. So this was easy to do. First step, we have crop. Second step, we want to remove some decayed segments of this photo using a spot healing brush. So we have created a duplicate layer of the same photo in case you want to refer back to the original photo, or you can create an adjustment layer for spot healing itself. So here spot healing is simple. You can go to just below the eyedropper tool to make a selection for spot healing. There are two brushes for general healing brush and the spot healing. I'm using spot healing because it is content aware and it performs operations very easily. If you have some complicated segments of the photo like eyes, because it have surrounded with a lot of textures, you can either zoom into the photo or make your brush smaller in size and just make a selection using point wise selection or select individual pixels. Okay, so here we want some parts of the eyes to be white, some parts to be black and everything. So here we have just fixed it. Sometimes the paper of the old photos could have turned out, some water or different spots may occur over time. These kinds of lost information in the photo due to printing issues and other things could exist. Here we can see that this tie is not clearly visible and there are multiple spots in this photo. So we can fix it in different ways. And the best way is to use a spot healing. It takes time with the spot healing. You can just paint it over and over again. You can either paint over the pixel, or I would suggest just painting over like you are painting with a brush. Just move from one direction to other, left to right, top to bottom, bottom to top, anywhere you feel like. Don't worry if you are using mouse, you can use spot healing very well with mouse and drawing tablet alike. There's no issue. Okay, so just perform the selection. Once you, if you have done anything incorrect, the selection have by mistake, you can undo the changes by going to the Control Z, or you can open the history tab. So here we have just applied some changes and try to heal. You can see the earlier version and you can find that spot healing works very well here in this case. Also you can remove adjust the borders, and that's now we still got some segments of the shirt still under decay. We can just simply increase the size of our brush, spot healing brush, to sample the rear the close by areas and fix this thing. You can zoom into the photograph to make a final selection or just make a slide. So we have fixed the right side of the fade and we are zooming into the photo to make a clear selection. The same thing you can apply over the left hand side of this photo, and just make the larger size of the brush, zoom into the photograph and apply spot healing over the decayed areas or area with the spots. Here we have just fixed this photograph, and just be sure to correctly select the pixels because sometimes there could be blurry effect, blur kind of effect. In that case you can use the general healing brush rather than using a spot healing. But for now we just require a spot healing. It's more than sufficient for now. This is the best tool to restore uh, the decayed segments of the old photos, and later on we can apply the noise correction, and if you want to repaint the photo, or you can convert it to the black and white. So here this is the final photo that we have corrected, and you can zoom into the photograph to make a final selections. But if you feel like it's not working, just leave it to the default value, and over time if you practice a lot, you would decide what are real shadows of the photo and what are spot, and you can fix it with this tool. So here when we zoom out into the subject, we can just make sure that there are no other spots remaining in the photo, and you can fix it. So here just undo these changes and here it is done. So this is how we have performed the edit and restored this photo. Try to do this thing on your own, keep learning and keep moving ahead. Hey, welcome back friend. In the previous lesson we have applied spot healing for fixing a decayed segment of the photo, and here in this lesson you are going to learn more about converting this photo into the grayscale, various options to convert it into grayscale, and applying various changes to some properties like highlight, shadow, contrast, black, white, texture, clarity, and more. So make sure that you are in the photography dashboard, and you can go to the adjustment layer for black and white to create a black and white adjustment layer. You got this option to change the value of reds, yellows, greens, cyan, blue, and purple components in the photo. So if you want to highlight the skin color, it's better to highlight the red color of the photo. And if there are more red colors, you can apply the changes. So this is how we can convert our photo into black and white and control what components in the photo should be highlighted and not highlighted. Another way is to create an adjustment layer for hue and saturation and decrease the value of saturation. So this way we can also create an adjustment layer. You can turn the visibility mode on and off to preview how your photo will be affected using an individual adjustment layer. So another step is to go to image menu and the mode and select grayscale. So this way we can convert our image into grayscale. But this method is not recommended because it will convert each pixel definition to black and white and your RGB information is lost. Generally, all photos consist of individual pixels that consist of red, green, and blue components, ranging from value 0 to 255. But here, when we converted it using the mode method, it will just remove all the RGB information. So next we can apply camera raw filter and we can change the value of highlights. You can increase the highlights, you can decrease the highlights to make it clearly visible or not visible. Okay, so this is very easy because you can find this thing on the go. It's easier than tone correction because tone correction could be difficult for some people, and some people would like to specifically control individual properties. Because if you have some experience with Lightroom, you would find this very familiar because Lightroom Classic have a similar interface where you can control each individual properties using the slider controls. These controls come in handy and you can change the value of darks and the whites and the texture. You can change the values of the blacks. You can change the value of shadows. You can change the value of textures. Just use the slider. If you want to have more texture visible on your photo, you can add this thing or you can remove it. The camera raw filter is used for two purposes. First, you can use it for noise removal, and then you can also use it for controlling various properties as I am controlling the highlight, shadows, and more. Then you can move to the detail tab or the mountain tab, and here you can increase the value of luminance. If you want to remove the pixels, it's better to increase the value of luminance. The noise, it could be reduced. If you reduce the value of luminance, the noise is retained. Okay, so if you want to keep your photo in the black and white and you don't want to add color, you can keep it into the low value. And for also if you are going to print this photo and want this print to look natural, not an artificial, you can just keep the luminance value to the default settings. Otherwise, increase the luminance if you want to paint over certain sections. Or you can just keep it in the grayscale, black and white. It looks decent enough. So we'll be learning more in the coming lessons. Keep learning, keep moving ahead. Welcome back, friend. Here in this lesson, you are going to learn about adding colors to the old photo using gradient map adjustment layer. So earlier we have used the hue saturation adjustment layer, and now we are going to use this gradient map. So you can create a gradient map adjustment layer from this option below to create a gradient map, or you can go to the adjustment layer option to create a gradient map. There are by default different options for duotone, tritone, and rainbow colors, but I would prefer this general black and white, and will fill multiple colors here. So just first go to the window, two-way vertical split, and here we got this earlier photo that we have recolored. So we are just going to extract the colors, various colors, generally skin color, from this photo. If you have a photograph with in color of the same time, generally the old time, with the similar lighting conditions, you can extract colors. So here we will be extracting 4 or 5 skin tone colors from this sample photo. So here we have this gradient map. Just click here in the gradient, double click to get this thing. So on the left hand side we will be placing the darker tones of the color, and on the right hand side we will be placing the brighter tones. So we'll be taking sampling this thing. Just use the eyedropper tool here to sample some color. Take a darker tone of the skin color from the skin where shadows are there, and then you can take the brighter tones. You can repeat the same step by taking samples from different area of the faces, and you can create multiple values of the swatches in between. So here just click anywhere on this gradient map, and here we can add. So here we have added 5 colors. Okay, you can add 6 color, 8 color, 10 color, any number of color you want. If you want to have more precision, it is recommended to add a different color. But follow the steps. On the left hand side, keep it darker shades of the color, and on the right hand side, make it brighter. So here we will be taking this sample color. On the left hand side, the dark brown, in the mid-tone, we got this thing, and you can slide those colors to readjust and make some space. If you want the mid-tone or any specific color to have some more depth in the photograph, you can adjust it. So gradient map is a powerful tool. When we use the hue saturation, we have just a simple tone, a single tone, but here we got multiple color variations. Okay, so when we paint over the photograph, the multiple variation of the photo, different colors will be applied at the same time. So it depends on the scenario where you want. You can also extract the photo colors from this real world these days photo, high resolution photo, but should have the same lighting condition. And here it is. If there is some error, if it looks like some haziness, you can adjust it uh, by just going to tone curve correction. Will be highlighting the shadows or highlights, and the shadows will be enhancing it. Just try to make a S curve, and this will everything will be okay. So here just focus on this thing. Here just press alt and backspace to change to the black color, and just use the paintbrush to paint over this thing. We can add a slight pink color to the lips of this person's face, and you can also paint a different color in different segments of the photo. So this is how you can paint. When you paint with a white color, uh, the color would be visible, the layer would be visible, or you will be creating a mask. If you paint with the black color, it will work as an eraser here. Okay, so just zoom into the photo to make a fine adjustment. Just color it properly to cover an entire segment of this thing. If you want to make it less crisp, just decrease the value of opacity or flow. If you are using a drawing tablet, it would be more efficient if you are focused on having a flow. Okay, it will add a painting like look, watercolor paint look. But here we don't require this thing because this is not a painting, this is a photograph. So we are very well okay with this general settings with the mouse. Here we have this mask, and you can apply different blending mode if you require. And this is how we apply the gradient map to add color, and we have extracted the color from a different photo. Next we can add more colors to this photo and add life to this photo. Okay, so try restoring your own vintage photos and get different photos from a grandparents, your parents childhood photos, on the photos that are in black and white. It could be decayed. Just try to restore them. Just try to restore the old memories. Your grandparents and everybody would be happy to see your work. They would appreciate your work. And add this thing as your photo editing skill. If you are an expert in Photoshop, you want to be an expert in Photoshop, you should know this vintage photo editing skills because it will be required in some point of your career. Okay, so stay creative, keep learning, and keep moving ahead. Hi, welcome back, friend. Here in this lesson, you're going to learn more about repainting, adding a color back to this vintage black and white photo. So here, we just create an adjustment layer for individual colors that you want to paint over. So here, let us first paint blue color to this shirt. Don't worry if you are not sure to decide the color that you have to paint. You can change the color anytime later. The point here is just make a selection, hold Alt and backspace to create a mask, and start painting. Once you have painted over the area, then later on you can modify the color, the flow, the opacity, anything later on. You can also change the value of saturation and all other properties. So here just create a mask. I'm making this fast forward because it may take some time. If you want to make a direct selection using this brush, you can repeat the steps once you face any error, and you can paint just like that. And there could be two strategies. One strategy is to paint very fine using the selections, and another strategy is to just paint roughly and then start erasing using the black color. Just paint black color to erase this mask. In the border areas, it should be required, and here it is. So we have simply painted over the shirt, the selection. You can adjust it by making just fine selection, and here it is. So we have painted this shirt, and we can change the color. Just adjust the saturation to make it light or dark, or you can change the value of hue to differentiate this color. Okay, you can take any color, it's not a problem. Then create another mask. Here adjustment layer for a different thing. Here we can select for background. Let's make it green by default, and we can start painting. So here it is. Just make this larger size of the brush because this area is quite large. And once we have reached the border sections, we can make the fine selection by decreasing the size of the brush, and here it is. And sometimes you may feel like a few colors are missing, so that you can bring back later on. Okay, so here for example this hairs are generally converted into the brown color, but we don't want this brown hair, we want the black hair. So we can create one grayscale mask and paint over this hairs. Just make a fine selection here. If you want to crop this photo, you can also use the edge refine tool to make a clear selection of the hairs. If you want to keep turn the background into transparent, it is advisable. You can use any selection tool like magic wand, quick selection tool, or any other tool to make a fine selection. You can crop the subject and delete the background. So here it is. We have selected we have painted over this mask, and three layers have been created for this hue saturation. We have painted the shirt, the background, the face, the lips, and we can paint the tie into a different color. So you can change the color of the background. So this was the black and white, and this is, we have added colors. We can add few more colors, like if you add a gray scale color to the eyes, it looks dramatic. Okay, because the eyes are not in the gray color, they are in white. So alternatively, you can paint with a white color, or you can decrease the flow or turn the opacity a little bit down. You can paint using the same color over the hairs. So just make the brush a little bit soft and start painting. And here we can see the hairs have been converted to the brown color, and we can paint over this thing. So next we can change the background from green to a different color. You can turn it red, pink, magenta, any color you want. So this is how you can add more colors Are you learning more in the coming lessons? Till then, keep learning and keep moving ahead. Hi, welcome back friend. Here in this lesson we are going to add some more colors to this photo. So let's start. Let's create a new hue saturation layer and we'll painting the remaining segments of the photo quickly and very easily. So here we don't know really what colors were there when the photo was shot. Okay, so we know the color of skin but we don't know the color of the shirt, the background and the tie. So we can just guess. Okay, so we can guess the logical deduction. And here I'm painting with a purple color. You can choose magenta color, you can choose dark green or the black color. It's your choice, but here we are sure that tie is something in a darker color while the shirt was in the brighter color, because highlight components for are more present in the shirt than the shadow areas, and shadows are more present in the tie, and we can say the tie is dark. So here you can choose a contrast. Here you can choose a combination of colors. Say here when we change the color of the tie to say purple or the blue color, it matches with the background. Okay, so background is in red color, red or pink, and here we got this tie. So just adjust it to make this photo beautiful. Okay, so your objective should be there to restore the photo. The logic and the concept of the photo should be clear. It should not alter the concept. It should just emphasize everything and bring back the colors. Okay, so here uh, we can see that in the gray scale in the original photo, the hairs were completely black and shiny. So what we can do when we edited the photo with the skin color, the hairs appear to be in sepia tone or the brownish tone, but here we want to bring back the color to black. So let's create an adjustment layer for this and start painting over the hairs. Okay, so here we are just painting to bring back the black color of the hairs. You can also paint over the mustache, beard and the eyebrows if it is visible, but here we can see that mustache and beard are not clearly visible. So when we if we try to paint over this thing, the skin color would be lost, so it's better to keep them intact while we can repaint the heads, the main hairs. Okay, so you can just experiment with this thing, and if you're not sure if your adjustment layer doesn't work, you can turn the visibility mode off and review it. Okay, you can repaint, create more adjustment layers. It's completely your choice. It's advisable if you are making this for a family photograph or for some art gallery. You should take some collaborative suggestions with your peers or friends, family, anyone, to decide what color to go with. Say if this photo belongs to your grandfather or someone like that, you should consult your parents because they might know what colors were present in the original photograph. Um, so just before experimenting, you should have some discussion. And here when we try to paint over the eyebrows, it doesn't look good. So let's leave it. So here this we have added some more colors to this photo. This was the original photo and now we have added some colors to this photo. If you have different components in a photograph, you can paint individual sections by zooming into photo. So this is how you can repaint. I will be learning more in the coming lessons. Keep learning, keep moving ahead. Hi, welcome back friend. So this is how we have edited your photo. We have color corrected, we have reduced the noise, we have added colors and just improved the photo. So we can compare this final edited photo with the black and white photo that we have corrected by removing the spots in the photo, and next we can improve it further more using the curves. So let's create a new adjustment layer for curves, and here you can decrease the shadows and increase the value of highlights. Just try to make it S, so this way your photo have some contrast and where shadows are more dark and the highlights are more visible. So this S curve will improve the quality of your photo. Otherwise you can have this hazy look. So earlier this was hazy, but with this small tone correction we have improved this photo. Okay, so these are the three versions. The middle version is the main photo that the raw photo that was not edited. Then it was restored by cleaning and removing the spots in the photo. and converted it into black and white. If you want a black and white version, you can save this version as well. And then we try to recolor and bring back the colors to this photo and perform certain steps. It was a quite long and time-taking approach, but finally we have this fruitful result. And with the tone correction, you can finish your work. Okay, so this is how you can restore your photo into different steps. Try creating your own restoration. Keep learning and keep moving ahead.